Fine, fuck it, I'll do it.
Welcome.
Okay.
Fuck you, Funk. I'll kill you. Welcome everybody
you, Andy.
to the Community Tank Podcast, hosted. Shut up! I will beat you to death. Okay, Funk is now muted.
What a great start.
Welcome to the Community Tank Podcast, hosted by the Spiritual Fish Lab, featuring, as per the last two episodes, the Funkateer 1 and whatever Oscar is calling himself. Oscar. As well as Donut and myself, Andy.
Andy.
Regular viewers will know Andy as the guy who doesn't ship me fish.
Have you talked about me not shipping you fish previously?
I think
You
so.
ship me
I
fish.
think we have.
I don't know how to ship fish to Canada.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
He had to bring me
here,
fish.
People might also know Andy is the guy that writes fucking live animals on boxes being sent.
I did
to-
not write that on the box. That was the postman.
Yeah.
I
How did-
tried to
how did
write
the postman
use
know?
dildos on the box.
Either way, it's a rookie move on Andy's part for letting him do that.
Remember, guys.
All I'm saying is I would not buy fish from Andy ever. I will
No.
not give in my
I will
honored
kill you.
recommendation.
I will
If
beat you to death.
Sorry, man. I'm
If
sorry.
Andy-
If I could give you 0 out of 5 stars, I wish I had 4 pairs of hands. I could give you 4 thumbs down. Deserve you.
If Andy was a cephalopod, he'd be a cuttlefish.
Cuttlefish are pretty cool. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, no, he'd be like one of those shitty Nautilus. He'd be a Nautilus.
Bro, why are Nautilus
paper
shitty?
Nautilus?
Why are
Yeah,
Nautilus
Nautilus are
shitty,
cool
no.
too.
No,
paper
Nautilus are not cool. Dude,
Why not?
like Argonauts? No,
What about, like, what are the old ones
those are
called?
not cool. If
What are
you
the
compare
old
him to like a giant squid or an octopus,
Yeah,
Nautilus
okay,
are not
I
cool.
get the logic.
And that's what Andy is. He's just a soft, shitty Nautilus swimming through the sea,
Yeah,
getting eaten by killer whales or some shit.
Some Nautilus are cool though. The paper Nautilus are really silly.
Let's hang on. I think we're getting off topic here. I think
there hasn't been a topic
just to keep it
established
clear,
yet.
I would not buy fish or recommend fish from Andy because he writes live animals on the box, and that's a big no-no.
Remember, guys, if you're gonna ship
And also,
animals,
all
right,
his
use
fish
dildos
died,
on the box.
So, and he never refunded me.
Yeah, Andy, you know what? Andy, you know what? I want my money back for every single hatchet fish. Kidding.
That was
I'm kidding.
the death of your fish was out of my control. I did not give your fish super ick.
That's true. You thought you
Yeah,
did.
I feel like they kind of were like hosting it, and then once they put that little guppy in there,
It was
it
released.
just was too much.
They-
That
they
tipped
hated the
needle,
guppies so
tipped
much.
scales. But your fish caused it because they were disease-ridden cesspool fish. So I'm waiting patiently for my refund or new free fish to replace the ones that you murdered. But until then, I cannot, in good conscience, recommend you to anyone. All right, so I guess what do you guys want to talk about?
I don't know.
We kind of went into this podcast as a kind of no agenda podcast. We really didn't have anything, written out. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts for the first time in my life, and I feel like they think these things through more than we do.
Yeah,
I think that's what also makes it special is that we just have so much fish knowledge between the 5 of us that we don't need to think things through. We don't need to write it down. We just know.
we just talk.
Guide this whole conversation, talk for 3 hours about fish and how good we are at it. All right, we should talk about why guppies suck.
I have guppies.
I have
I have,
guppies too.
I have guppies that were wild caught from Colombia.
See,
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, Andy, I have guppies that were wild
fish are
caught.
cool, but why does your typical domesticated guppies suck?
I have
Oh, they're awful.
yeah,
they're
because
like-
they're smashed.
It's their genetics.
Yeah,
They've been
Yeah.
line bred so long that these fish cannot function as what they once were. It's just a terrible situation. Honestly, like I wouldn't even like. I'm not sure what I'm saying because I'm sleepy, but they're just not real animals at this point. They're just
they're
Yeah.
fake.
I mean, you-
manufactured by us to be this
Yeah.
commodity.
Like
You look at a
Glofish.
blood parrot cichlid. Look at this abomination. It's round. Fish aren't supposed to be that round.
Fish aren't supposed.
It's smashed. It's got. It can't. Most of them cannot
Can't
close
close their mouth. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like a pug.
I mean-
it's like a pugfish, but worse.
A majority of them are sterile. Cause how fucked they are.
When you're so fucked, you can't fuck.
This fish should not exist.
Well, it
So
does.
I think the issues with blood parrots, the issues with guppies, I think kind of is a much broader issue. It's that how many fish in our hobby are just fucking abominations of nature.
Oh,
Maybe
so
like
many of
the
them are.
Line bred and inbreed.
Betas.
Yeah,
I mean, how many tetras, longfin fish, goldfish.
Flower
Boy.
horns. People don't like to add flower horns, but flower horns are just as bad.
Yeah,
No,
flower
flower
horns
horns
are
are just as bad, if not worse, man.
Yeah, I mean the majority of longfin fish would not survive in the wild. The
Why are
longfins.
people- Well,
And
yo, keep
any-
going. Keep
Any
going.
ones that would survive in the wild would survive much worse than
Yeah,
they would
exactly.
without any of these deformations.
Well,
We've bred them to be deformed because we think it looks funny.
I mean, you look at
And-
a majority of these line-bred traits, and they are naturally occurring traits. You know, they're just recessive traits, but they do occur in nature. You know why? You don't go to the Amazon River and see a single, you don't see a single long fin Oscar
They got 8.
because they got eaten when they were as big as my pinky nail.
So Andy, you work in a fish store. I've worked in a fish store, but you currently work in a fish store. Did before COVID. What do you think the appeal is to people with these kind of fish? Whether it's a fucking beta or a flower horn or longfin fish, is it just because they look unique, or because they're cool, or what? What do you think it is that makes people?
I got an answer for that. I got an answer to that. People are fucking
Okay.
stupid.
As a relatively new fish keeper too, I have a good answer for that.
Yeah, go for it.
'Cause, going into it, I just saw, all the betas. They all look really nice. All the fish in the fish store look cool, and you don't realize, like the past to them. You don't know which ones come from the wild, which ones don't. Which ones have been line bred and have shitty genetics now. Which ones are only a few generations from the wild.
Yeah,
And the
I mean,
ramifications for that. You don't know what it means for the fish.
I just don't think people realize that these fish are nowhere near what they're represented. That they look in nature. Is that your average beta, even your beta splendid, is not this extravagant fish with all these crazy fins, and they just kind of take it for granted. This is a fish that looks like the wild. They don't realize just how awful the commercial beta industry is.
Yeah, I mean, one example that I like a lot, because I'm obviously biased, I very heavily prefer fish that look like how they're supposed to look in the wild.
I think
One example that I always use is with honey grommies, because at the store I work at, we always have wild type honey grommies, and the tank right next to them, we have the sunset morph, or the gold morph of honey grommies. And whenever I tell people, they'll ask, what's the difference between the two? And I'll say, well, we've got the regular honey grommies right here. This is the natural forms, what they look like in the wild. The males are going to have this just bright orange color with a black throat, whereas the females are going to keep more of a brown color with a kind of darker stripe down the middle. And then next to them, we've got the sunset honey grommies. Both males and females are the bright yellow form, line bred form. The other ones, how they're supposed to look. And a lot of the people, when I say it in that, I'm not going to say necessarily biased method of explaining it, but just more information method of explaining it. A lot of people are going to prefer the natural looking fish. Because when people are informed of this, still some people want their shitty fish. Some people want their fucking albino fish, whatever. If you like shitty fish, that's your opinion. I'm not gonna beat you up too bad for it. But the majority of people, when I show you the real fish and the line bred shit fish, and I explain the difference, most people are going to choose the real fish.
I would hope.
People just don't have the majority of people just don't have that idea of this is what the fish is supposed to look like versus what the fish is line bred looking like.
I think it's a pretty good way of putting it. I mean, I have brap fish.
That's true.
but-
It's true. Sorry, I'm kind of brain fried, but I think people just want color. You know, they think pet
100%.
fish, and they just want colorful animals. They want Nemos. They want Dories. They want something impactful, but they don't really realize the cost of what it takes. You know, the cost of just how awful these fish have been bred, how awful their genetics are. And
It's terrible
I
for
just,
their quality of life.
Mhm.
I'm not saying one of these guys it's like super pro the aquarium industry's animal cruelty. Trust me, there's plenty of people out there like that. Sea Shepherd, those whale wars guys that had their 15 minutes of fame about a decade ago, they threw a huge campaign against the aquarium industry. I mean, for fuck's sake, I own a fucking English bulldog. I have no room to talk about line breeding and smash animals, but I think people just don't understand that these animals are nothing, like the wild. And yeah, a bulldog's a bulldog, but these fish are bred in quantities of probably millions. I mean, it wouldn't be totally insane to say there are fish bred by the millions to be mutated rainbow abominations and shells of their former wild collected selves.
Especially.
And I think it's just education or lack thereof of the fish stores. They just want to make a quick buck. I mean, you see it in saltwater too. I mean, designer clownfish have just gone absolutely out of control. Here, Spiritual, I will post my personal favorite of the
Let's take a look.
designer clownfish trend because it's awful.
Truly.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
it is.
honey gouramis right now.
I
And,
just threw up a little bit of each lot in my mouth. Hang on.
and
Yeah, honey gouramis are a great fish.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
It's all the clownfish.
What is this?
Like, who the
freaking
fuck?
red-eye
look,
tetra clown.
These fish literally look like they're covered in marine velvet. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I have Darwin clowns.
Darwin clowns are a wild caught type. Darwin clowns are found in northern Australia.
Yeah. But I wouldn't keep this abomination, this cow.
I like,
Why would they call it
look
a
at this.
cowfish?
What is this?
Why do they call it a Darwin clown?
Because they're Australian.
Yeah, there's an exact reason for it. I can look it up. But like come on, man. Like, who looks at this and says, "I want this"? Don't answer that because I know there are thousands of people who want this stuff and the demand for it. But it goes to coral too. Is that you go diving in the ocean? I mean, Oscar, you're a scuba diver. We talked about scuba diving.
Oh yeah.
What if you were just to pick maybe like 2 or 3 colors of coral that you see diving? What color are they?
Oh, geez, that's a good question.
Say
I would
beige,
say
green, beige, brown, purple.
brown. Purple for sure. Sometimes a reddish. Definitely kind of a pinkish. It's a lot of colors.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. One of the big things that I am disgusted by in this line breeding bullshit that the aquarium hobby does is that natural forms of stuff is so colorful. You look at a flower horn, abomination of a fish. What's a flower horn bred from? Probably a Midas or red devil, Amphilophus citronellus or Amphilophus labiatus, and a trimac, Amphilophus trimaculatus. The first one being bright red, gorgeous fish. The second one being a bright green, gorgeous fish. And yet they make them into these abominations that the majority of flower horns I've seen are just objectively less colorful and less pretty than their portions that they come from. So why? What's the point? There's such natural beauty. You look out where my tide pools, my coasts I live on. You go out, you go diving, you're gonna see giant green anemones, bright green, aggregating anemones, bright pink, cup corals, bright orange. Why fuck with it? Nature is beautiful.
Maybe it's because we can. Maybe we think we're improving it. But did you see the pictures I posted of these rainbow coral?
Those are so ugly.
Yeah.
They don't look
We got
good.
we got a Comathracea, Phagia, some sort of a Acropora. All right, here are just 2 pictures I found at random of your typical reef scene. One definitely looks like the Red Sea with all the butterflies, and one probably is Indo-Pacific. Corals aren't fucking rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this crazy trend you see to just hammer these corals with blue light and take one piece of some sort of aberration in nature, this rainbow coral, and you hack it up into a little grid, and you grow corals off that, try to make these rainbow blobs. That's not fucking nature. If I go and see someone's reef tank, this sterile reef tank with dried rock and nothing but blue lights that has these little rainbow fucking dots, those rainbow fucking dots probably cost $500 to $1,000 a pop. I'm gonna punch you. Like, no doubt about it. I'm gonna fucking kick your ass because you are such a fucking cunt. You have just taken the beauty of the ocean, the natural beauty that took millions of years to get there, to try to make this rainbow bright Fantasyland blob tank, and you just kill the hobby. You ruin it for everyone. And I don't even know where I'm going with this tangent. It's just so sad and frustrating to me how all industries, whether it's freshwater or saltwater or coral or fish, are trying to create something that just isn't natural. Like, I remember as a little kid, I've always been like obsessed with fish. I've been fascinated with the ocean. I've been fascinated with marine life. I've been fascinated with aquariums. And I always want to recreate my own slice of nature. I always thought how cool it'd be to have like a pond in my backyard with all these local animals, or go, swimming in my local, beaches, which are, kelp ports. It's Southern California. And people just are doing everything they possibly can with aquariums to get away from nature and just try to make these Fantasyland tanks, and they just fail miserably. I look at them and I just don't see any soul in them at all.
And you know what? It's also in a lot of things that just, and in other news of things that anger me. If you look at a flower horn, you're not gonna have much luck putting those in a community tank unless you're putting them with bigger predators and all this. But a lot of the fish that they're bred from tend to work a lot better in those situations. Not that you want to put a Midas cichlid in there with something peaceful, but they've kind of, the way that they've been bred has increased their aggression significantly to the point
absolutely.
where they're just, the real fish is so much better.
Yeah, like you make it uglier, you make it look stupid, and you make it more aggressive. Like, at what point, like, where's the advantage here? Like,
I just don't want to do this with people.
You can barely reproduce flower horns because they'll just kill each other.
I mean, I have brat fish, so I don't know if I can really talk about this.
Well, I think we're just bumming ourselves out here talking about how much the hobby sucks. Let's just talk about, I don't know, what we like about the hobby. It's just like Oscar, Andy, Spiritual, Donut. Like, why do you guys keep fish? Like, of all the things, man, you don't keep fish to get fucking laid. Why?
That's where you're wrong.
I know we put our foot in the mouth here because we've all been there. But why do you guys all keep fish?
Well,
I mean
they make me happy.
The fish make me happy. I don't know. I really feel like this is something I even brought up to a friend I was talking to today. Fish are the way that I can feel I'm doing a little bit of good in the world, because a big part of my fish keeping, around 50% of the fish that I keep at any given time are fish that are extinct in the wild, endangered in the wild, at least vulnerable in the wild. I breed these fish, I distribute them to friends and people that are into this stuff. Look up the CARES program for keeping fish species alive. And then someday, as has been done in Lake Malawi multiple times with a couple different species, Chindongo solicii, as well as I believe a Metriaclima species, have been reintroduced to Lake Malawi because of overfishing by natives for food and for the aquarium hobby. Populations of fish have gone near extinct. And then people that are responsible know what they're doing bring these species back into the wild and try to re-up that population. That's where I feel I'm doing good in this hobby, because it's something I live for, keeping species alive, because someday these species are going to go extinct in the wild. And if it isn't for people like myself that care about these shitty gray fish, then the species would be gone.
So I have a very different answer, because unlike Andy, I'm morally a very selfish and horrible person.
I have fish too that I'm never gonna breed. Yeah. I have fish I'm never gonna breed. I have fish I just keep to look at.
But I mean,
and I love my fish. But in addition to that, I also have that big section of fish that I'm just trying to breed and keep the species alive.
Andy, you're pretty wholesome.
Andy is really wholesome. I'm just a bad person, but I am who I am. But I do my research in a city, and a lot of my research is conservation based, which is always nice. But it mostly doesn't relate to fish. What I like about fish is that I'm a scuba diver. I love everything to do with the water. I've been looking at fish since I was a kid. When I was a kid, there's nothing I'd like more than to go to ponds and stuff and just look for fish. I love fishing. I love scuba diving. I just love water, and I like having a little piece that I can bring with me. I like to have it next to my desk. I like to worry about every little fish. It's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of
I feel that a lot,
yeah,
man.
I kind of have the
I
same
think
thing.
I'm somewhere in between both of you guys, so I'm nowhere near as noble as the efforts of Andy, and I'm definitely way more selfish, like Oscar. But
Ah,
I've always historically, maybe not so much now. I think I just maybe my corals aren't growing as fast as they used to, but especially when it was crazy into the reef business. I've always been more gravitated to the faster growing corals, whether that's gorgonians, racini, or spicularia, leathers, lots of macroalgae. I used to be very involved in our local aquarium classifieds, sdreefs.com. I will give you a free bump. A great forum for the Southern California reef keeper, but everything I put would be free, or maybe I take beer donations. But just my way of just as corals, my fast growing animals grew, I would just hack them up at anyone that wanted to come by and get a starter piece or get some free macroalgae to start a refugium. I was there. Like I'd say hit me up. I'd bring it to work and just keep it in a bag on the countertop. Or just come to my place, grab some corals. I usually give you freebies. Like I saw it's just a community aspect because coral was so expensive, because it's such a finite resource in the ocean. Is I basically just give it away, just to help someone else start the tank, just to help get someone that passion for the hobby. And you can't do that with coral nowadays because everyone's trying to make a fucking buck off of it.
Yeah.
But when I was, especially when I was younger, everyone just would kick me down stuff like, "Oh man, Funk, you're starting up a reef tank. That's so cool. You're 13, 14, 15 years old. You're take a piece of this, take a piece of that. Watch this thing grow." And that was the hobby I got into, and I always just remember that and always try to pay it forward.
Yeah, I want to bring up a story. When I started my reef tank, a buddy of mine I found on Craigslist giving out some free corals. His name's Marv, great friend of mine now. When I first set up my reef tank, I found him giving away a Rhodactis on Craigslist. And I said, great, I'm going to go get this guy's Rhodactis. And I met him. We became great friends. He said, oh, Andy, you're setting up your first reef tank? Take a frag of this coral, and take a frag of this coral, and this coral, and this coral. And I've gotten corals from him over the times, and I've given out free corals to people because I started with this great guy giving me free corals, and he just said, you don't need to give me anything, just pay it forward someday. And that's an amazing way of keeping fish and keeping coral in reef tanks. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have had this push into reefing that I got. And it sounds like you were a very similar person. That's great. Some corals, most stuff I got from him were mushrooms and zoanthids. So super fast growing stuff. And like I said, I've done the same thing. I've said to people I've put on Craigslist, giving out coral. I've said to buddies that I know have reef tanks, hey, do you want a frag of this coral? Because it's growing crazy, I just want to spread it. And the Rhodactis I first got from my buddy Marv, I actually passed all those on to another friend who was setting up their first tank because I was just done with the colony. So I gave them to him, and now they're doing great in his tank. And that's just a super noble way of keeping coral, in my opinion. They're just giving it to people to have them set up their first tanks and really just get into the hobby.
Yeah,
It's still there a little bit, but not like it used to be. I just changed. But anyway, Oscar, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, the first fish I actually bred a lot of, and I actually bred to sell, was German blue rams. One of probably the most inbred fish you can find. And basically, I was doing my undergrad at the same time as I did a lot of that, and I quickly learned that I quickly learned kind of how terrible it is that these creatures are like this. I think German blue rams. Have you guys ever kept them? You know how fast they die or how randomly they die.
Oh yeah, they're awful.
It's just because their genetics are so horrible because they don't
I'm
fit
gonna
with
disagree with you
colorful
in that.
fish
I'm gonna disagree with you on that
with their
because
genetics.
I also thought that German blue rams were awful because of genetics for the longest time. I just assumed this fish. There's no reason why they should die. Alta spinosa are so much better. You know, they don't die
I've
instantly.
kept those too.
But I've been getting wild caught ones in, and I've kept 2 batches. I've tried to keep them before. They seem just as bad. You know, taking them home, they die. At the store, they die. And I'm like, I'm just thinking that this species just kind of sucks.
Where do you catch them from?
Colombia.
But where in Colombia?
I don't have any location other than the
Because
state.
my belief would be that they're very isolated populations that are not subject to a lot of environmental stresses, leading them to be really, really vulnerable.
That
Fragile.
could be very correct. You know, the majority of the fish that we keep at the store, we keep at very high pH, relatively speaking. You know, we keep all our fish at 7.6, 7.8 because it helps a lot of disease. You know, stuff like the big one that comes to mind for me off the top of my head is velvet. Fish above like 7.6 or 7.8 cannot get velvet, period. Velvet cannot live above a certain pH.
They
Right.
can in saltwater.
Well, it's a different parasite.
We're not talking
Way
about saltwater.
shittier parasite. Green velvet sucks.
So we keep a lot of our tanks higher. So that could be a reason why they don't do well in the store. But I've had the same experience. I've taken home 2 batches myself. But yeah, it definitely could just be that they're from an isolated spot. But my experience, even with wild caught rams, is that that fish just fucking sucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, my point was that that I started to find that what really interested me in the aquarium industry was kind of a lot of the evolution and ecology about these fish. So I don't care about color. If you look at my tank, which I think has been posted here before,
It's in the background of the last podcast. So
yeah, there's probably 3 colors. It's brown, black, and maybe a bit of white. It's not a colorful tank, but I find each one of these fish fascinates me in their own way, just about how they live, how they survive in the wild. It's for me, I don't care in the slightest about just the way they look because I just find myself so much more interested with the activity of the fish and how they came to be. So I think there's a lot more to this industry than just, look, pretty colors, but I think people need to get slowly accustomed to this industry before they can
yeah,
kind of pick up on that.
I don't know. For me, I got
Yeah,
into it because when I was younger,
Would you say too? I mean, Oscar, you keep ropefish, you keep team polos, you keep fish that not only have attitudes but also have very unique shapes and personalities, way more than your average, I don't know, tetra or guppy or beta.
Yeah.
So your fish, what they lack in color, they make up in attitude, and they make up the attitude because they're much more like their wild collected counterparts. I mean, you look at my saltwater tank. I have nothing colorful in my saltwater tank. All my fish are various colors of blue, brown, gray. My most colorful fish are Clarky clowns, which are considered ugly clownfish compared to the Nemos of the world. And I just like them because they have attitudes, because they're fun to watch eat. And it's something you kind of circle back to in the hobby. Is you start, you want colorful little pretty fish with long flowy tails, and then you keep them, and you get over, and then you kind of want to get something a little more natural. And I think it's just kind of the natural progression of the hobbyist. I mean, some never grow out of it. Some always just want their, pink gravel and pink fish and all that shit. But I feel like as you progress in this hobby too, you just get more and more into, trying to replicate nature. At least hopefully.
Actually, I can speak.
That's the same thing with all the saltwater guys. They want the little rainbow blobs, and then they might kind of step back and be like, all right, maybe I want something a little more, little less flashy, a
No,
little less something trying so hard.
That's
like,
totally true. Because I
green,
know when
maybe
I
saw
started,
something that's a nice color, right? Because that's more like I see in the wild. Or maybe I'm just talking out my ass.
no, I think you're
I'm
right.
not speaking to what most people want. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm tired.
Funk, I
Yeah,
think you're
me
right
too.
because when I started, I had like
It's
my
the great,
tank.
greatest podcast ever. We're all crashing. We've all been day drunk all
Everyone's
day.
like dying.
This is the remnants of it.
Well, when I started, I had
I've
like
been day drunk
stark
all day. I
white
don't know about
gravel.
you guys. Again, maybe I'm just projecting.
I had stark white gravel in my fresh tank and plastic plants and like assorted tetras with not at all the right numbers.
So
and then I
keep the
fucking...
conversation going.
He was just talking.
Funk, stop fucking cutting me off.
Keep talking.
Brendan's
Does he have me
actively
turned
talking.
down? I think he has me turned down by
I
accident.
can't hear Brendan at all.
Oh,
No
yeah.
wonder. Every time I talk, he's cutting me off. I'm like, bruh.
Brendan just starts to say something. Funk's just like, let's keep the conversation going.
Dude, Brendan, I can't hear. It doesn't even say you're talking on my thing.
What? I'm talking.
Maybe Brendan leave and rejoin and Funk restart Discord.
Funk?
I'm seeing if I can find a picture of my first tank.
Funk, can you hear me?
Here we go.
Yeah, I can hear you. I haven't heard. I was kind of thinking too. Man, you're being so quiet.
No, okay. What I was trying to say, I'm keeping that all in because it's hilarious, but
Yeah, okay, just for our viewers, Funk is
Okay,
not
good.
an asshole, he just couldn't hear.
I thought he was being a dick. I'm like, geez, man, I can't even. I'm just trying to say, I'm like, because Funk, when you were saying like people, they slowly evolve, and I was totally right because when I started, my fresh tank was stark white gravel and like, I had 2 black neons, 6 neons, a single Cory, and they were all in a 9-gallon. Now all those fish are in like a beautiful blackwater tank. Like you can see like the evolution there. As I was like, okay, let's make something a bit more natural. Let's get the proper number of fish. Let's create an environment that's actually ideal for them. It isn't just something I think looks nice because it doesn't even look nice. Now my tanks are all like super comfy, and I mean, sure I have a betta and sure I have brap fish, but like it's definitely gotten more into like the wild side of things and trying to create environments that are actually ideal for the fish and not just hee pretty aquascape. So that's my take on it.
True.
I think that's just the way to do it.
I question if you're sorry. You go.
No, I was just gonna say like I still there's still a part of me like okay, brap fish is like the ugliest fucking fish ever, right? But there's a part of me that's just like black ugly swordtail, but I don't know.
I don't think you are the norm though. I think the only reason you're like that is, not trying to toot our own horns here, but we.
Oh no, it's 100% because of that. Like
guided you to do this, but
Well, yeah.
most people aren't like that.
yeah, if you want I'm gonna talk about the story for a bit because what happened is one time I only had a single Cory, so it was like if you keep a single Cory, it will start to act super weird. Like it'll do like a bunch because it's just like it doesn't know what to do, I guess.
Yeah.
If you kept a single
Although
tank,
I will say, Cories, unlike a lot of schoolers, seem to school with other species of Cories.
yeah, well I just had one.
I
They
find
shoal, they
it's,
don't school. First off,
I find they tend to shoal with species that are of the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
they
if you
care
put
about
a
color.
If you put a fucking pygmaeus in with a full-size Brocus splendens, they're not
Well,
gonna
if you
school
put-
together.
I don't know about that, Andy. I think they will.
But they
if you put
also exhibit, those two species exhibit very, very different behavior. I would say that if you put similar sized Cories that exhibit similar behavior, they're probably gonna school together.
Yeah.
I have Reticulatus and Aeneas and Schwartzi and one other species I can't remember off the top of my head, all in the same tank, and they all seem and Paleotis, and they all seem to school together.
Well,
Because those
Andy,
are all.
one really important thing I saw once. Once I saw a Brocus eat a panda Cory.
how big is the Brocus?
Dude, it was like 4 or 5 inches.
Oh my god. I
That's
want
so
Brocus.
nice.
I want Brocus. What
It's
size tank
great.
for Brocus, guys?
10 gallons.
No, fuck off. You can barely keep normal Cories in a 10.
I would
Probably
put Brocus
like a
in like.
20 long.
Oh, I do even bigger than that. I'd say
Yeah.
you're looking at 40B.
Alright, sweet.
Because they're also
Brocus
just.
multiradiatus is one of my favorite Cories. Brocus, like my top 3 favorite Cories: Brocus multiradiatus, Scleromistax barbatus, and Corydorus cystatus.
What about orange laser?
It's
Yeah, they're
just
cool.
about to say that.
Yeah.
Lasers are sweet. I like lasers.
Yeah, but like a
Mayors are my
brocus.
favorite.
What about salt and pepper Cory?
I like
those,
Paleotis.
those are the cute ones. Sorry, the peppered Cories are the ugly ones.
But like
What's
with
the
a
pepper Cory?
brocus, you want
Histatus?
other brocus, right?
Hang on, Andy. I'll get it for you.
With the brocus, you're still gonna want other brocus because it's not gonna school with some tiny ass, Cory, right? And so you're gonna want like what 6 brocus, and for that, I think you're looking at 75.
Andy, that's the peppered one.
Oh, I like those. Those are Paleotis. I like.
You like them? I don't know.
Paleotis.
I'm not a big fan.
Paleotis are great.
Okay, well, anyways, I had one, and it was like, it started like swimming upside down at the top. I don't know, it was just doing a bunch of weird shit, right? And I was like freaking out, and at the time, like 4chan was like that was my go-to place. But here's the thing, I really only went on like a few boards. I literally did not know there was an animal board, so I went on B. And I was like, hey guys, why fish broke? And then they redirected me to Ancord. And then I met Funk.
Maybe it's time to talk about that. You know, we tried not to talk about the.
Let's just not talk about this. I don't think it's valuable information for a podcast. I think it's just idiocy.
No, it's just such an interesting story about how we all.
It's a terrible story.
It's a terrible
journey of,
story.
like, of betrayal and hatred and violence.
Fuck, I'm not willing to do this until we can make it. No, fuck, I'm not willing to do this until we have like until we have at least 3 musical tracks to go along with it.
Okay. Yeah. Until we see the Grand Trilogy.
TCT. Yeah, guys. I'll put the podcast on Bandcamp, and it will include TCT the musical.
So what were we just talking about?
I was
Something
talking about
Cory's.
I was talking about my Cory being weird. That's how I ended up here, and that's why I think I got, because when I started, like, I was, again, like saying, like, my stuff wasn't really that wild. I didn't do too much research, and then like I got into this, and I'm like, okay, like I should try, because I only had 1 Cory, and I think I'm like, my tank's too small for more. And Conan was like, get a bigger tank, bitch, and I did. So like, some people need that push.
You out.
So I want to talk about the importance of local aquarium clubs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Local aquarium clubs, aquarium societies, are a huge way to share knowledge and fish. Most that I'm aware of have usually a speaker with a presentation as well as an auction, where people will often bring, their shit fish that they just want to get rid of. But in addition to that, you'll sometimes get super fucking rare fish you won't see anywhere else. And I've done talks for my local aquarium club, and there's an aquarium club a couple hours rather, south of me. So I have 2 aquarium clubs really. And I've given a talk on wild type anabantoids, which I hate that talk. It's terrible, but I've given it, and it's my most popular talk I've given. And I also have a talk on cold water marine aquariums for the Oregon coast stuff. I have that tank, which is consisting of totally stuff I've collected on my own. And I think that the cold water marines genre is super cool. A lot of people don't have cold water marine tanks. But you can listen to people that know a hell of a lot more than I do about fish. Compared to a lot of speakers that we've had at my fish club, I'm like a complete idiot. I'd say I'm a pretty good fish keeper. I'm fairly knowledgeable. But compared to a lot of speakers that I've had, I'm going to name drop some people. We've had people like Lawrence Kent out of Seattle, works for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He specializes in endangered Lake Victorian species, which is, every fish out of that lake. We've had people like Rusty Wessel, probably the #1 most important person to Central American fish in the United States. As well as other people. Discus Hans. We had Discus Hans talk at my local aquarium club. Do I like discus? Absolutely not. But this guy knows a hell of a lot more about discus than probably anybody else in the world. Go there, learn knowledge, get fish. Support your local aquarium society.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I know the Portland Aquarium Societies are very well established. The Pacific Northwest Aquarium Societies are still pretty active, but I think the traditional aquarium clubs, aquarium societies that I grew up with, that you know are just not what they used to be. I mean, ST San Diego Marine Aquarium Society is basically defunct. No one wanted to, take ownership of it. Same thing happened with
Sacramento's big.
but a lot of places, it's just not there. And I think the number one reason for this, fucking Facebook forums. And San Diego still has a very active Reef forum. ST Reefs, again, I will give you a second plug for the podcast. But it's affiliated with the ST Mass. And ST Mass does not hold meetings. They do not have a president or ownership. They do not, coordinate, speakers or do anything like that. We have the San Diego Tropical Fish Society that holds auctions maybe quarterly. It used to be monthly. I can't go to them because I will get stabbed or stab someone. I made a lot of enemies in the aquarium business over the years, but it's just not what it used to be, man. I think people have just gravitated towards more easy, accessible things like Facebook. And it's sad.
Yeah, and you know how much I've learned on Facebook compared to what I've learned in aquarium societies meetings.
It's night and day, man. You don't even get me started on it. Facebook's awful. Facebook's awful for a lot of reasons, but of the many things Facebook has done, for example, giving your mom some sort of reach to what you do in your personal life, or giving their ability to access memes, or just the scammers, the way it treats our lives to find things that we might not know we want, and selling our data. It's also killed the interpersonal aspect of aquarium clubs. Of the many things Facebook's responsible for, killing the aquarium industry is one of them. Fuck you, Facebook. I'm gonna delete my Facebook. The only reason I have it to troll people on aquarium clubs.
Fuck Facebook.
I don't know.
This is a turn into a Facebook hate stream.
Oh, I could talk about Zuck for hours.
Zook.
Fuck the Zuck.
Fuck the Zuck. Suck the Zuck.
Andy, can you bring me wild caught glowfish?
No. Yeah, I'll toss them in. I'll grab some glowfish. I'll toss them into one of my 300-gallon tubs in my backyard and catch them out of there. I'll call them wild caught.
Wild caught glowfish.
I mean, I'm a member of 3 aquarium clubs that are still have monthly, or not monthly for one of them, but still has relatively often meetings and have great information. I'm a member of Greater Portland Aquarium Society. We have about 60 active members at any given point, over 600 total members. I'm a member of the Pacific Northwest Marine Aquarium Society. Great club.
It's basically defunct.
They still have meetings, which is great. It should be a lot bigger than it is, but the forums are still fairly active, which is nice. I'm a big fish forum guy, too. There's a lot of really bad information on forums, but there's a lot less bad information on forums than on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And then the Willamette Valley Aquarium Society, relatively new club, only been up for a couple years. I was one of their first speakers. I gave my Shitty Anna Bantoid talk to them. But there's my point being that the fish club scene here in the Portland-ish area, Portland, give or take 2 hours or so, from what you're saying, seems like it's a lot bigger than other places in the country. All that says to me is go to your fucking fish club meetings. Pay your $20 a year fees. Bring stuff to the auctions. Because I've learned a hell of a lot more from the people I've met at fish clubs than I would ever learn from Facebook or from really any other source.
And I think that's kind of the point to drive home here is, if you don't support your local fish club, invest in your local fish club, go to your local fish club, go to the meetings, have fun with it. I remember there was a time where especially when SD Mass kind of stopped doing meetings, me and some of my SD Mass buddies would just go get drunk and go talk Reef at each other's houses. Like, it was the camaraderie of it, and just talking about each other's strengths and and successes and failures, and just looking at our tanks. I mean, we could do it for fucking hours, especially when alcohol was involved. But we had such a great time doing it that, you know, I made lifelong friends. People like I wouldn't know, like pilots and doctors and people 20, 30 years my age. And it was so much fun to just go and just have this one common denominator. So, you know, to anyone listening, to anyone that even gives a shit about this podcast and is listening, go find your local club, support your local club, invest in it. And if you don't have a local club, fucking start one. And don't
start one. One of my best friends started a fish club, and they're big. They have over 100 members now, less than 2 years in. They have meetings every single month with a speaker and an auction. Start a fucking club. Not that hard. It can be done.
Guys, I'm going to start a fish club.
Do it. Oh no, I'm not even shitting you. Start a fish club. Put it on Facebook. Advertise. Get speakers. People will be more than happy to come to your club.
Facebook sucks. Would you dare say, you know, and if you guys live in a place that doesn't have a fish club and, you know, you just live in the middle of nowhere, I highly recommend joining the Community Tank Discord. We are a fish club as well, for all walks of life. We talk about all kinds of great things, like a Kurt's thighs. Shout out to Kurt.
No, we're unironically the most knowledgeable Discord server about fish.
It's actually true.
And you guys browse, yeah, I think we should do a shameless plug here. And as you guys, you know, surf the pantheon of aquarium discords out there, first off, we're one of the oldest, if not the oldest, most active. But we definitely have the biggest combined knowledge base. The other ones are all started by 13-year-olds who've been keeping their tank for 6 months.
Hey, Fish Tea.
Fish Tea's pretty good. They banned...
Fish Tea's actually pretty good, unfortunately. Like,
yeah, I like them.
Fish Tea is good.
I want back from Fish Tea.
Like, there are bits they can be
on Fish Tea.
Yeah, like sometimes they'll say stuff and you're like, eh, but like their knowledge base is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I got my first Mocha Lembembe on Fish Tea.
Mocha Lembembe.
User Sid, you heard it from me. Please let Funk back in. He's sorry for posting Hampture. He'll never do it again.
Oh, I gotta make my video on Hampture.
Oh, Hampture's hilarious. I love Hampture so much.
Hampture's pioneering the future, guys. I don't know if people don't realize that.
Well, here, we can bring it into here. Do you want to keep it for one of your other videos? I don't want to steal your content.
No, I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care because I mean I was gonna some of the stuff I'm actually one of the things I like about the podcast is there was a lot of video topics I wanted to just like make, but I was realizing like either because sometimes I'll just start rambling and I realize I'm not making a lot of sense, or like, you know, you guys have a much bigger knowledge base than me, and it's also nice to have like someone to bounce ideas off of like with as well. Like pretty much anything we talk about, you'll have one person say like, oh yeah, I agree with that because I have this like thing, or actually I disagree with that because of such and such. Whereas when it's just me making a video about this kind of topic, I'm just like, yeah, so I have fish and like they're in a tank and it's pretty cool. Like, so.
Hey, you do have fish and they are in a tank and they are pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know how we talk about Hampshire. I mean, he keeps hamsters underwater and killed a bunch of what were the fish in the tank at one point? He called them guppies, and they were not.
Oh, yeah, he called them guppies, and they were kombucha. No, he called them minnows, rather.
Oh, yeah, he called them minnows. I forget, everyone does that. Any tiny fish equals minnow.
Yeah, minnows get pretty big.
I know, that's the thing, though, but anyone, like, anytime someone sees a little fish, they're like, actually, you know, I'll bring up Dustin Pack here, because when he caught a mosquito fish, and he's like, I guess it's like a guppy or a minnow, and I'm like, bro, you're just saying things.
I am Andy, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a hamster not entitled to the enclosure of his tank? No, says the man in Washington. It belongs to the terrarium. No, says the man in the Vatican. It belongs...
Vatican?
Are you making this up on the spot?
No, says the man in Moscow. It belongs to every hamster. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Hampture. A city where the hamster would not fear the hamster wheel. Where the hamster would not be bound by earth. Where the great hamster would not be constrained by this small hamster.
What is happening?
And with the Hampshire of your tank, this hamster can be yours as well.
What does it mean?
For anyone that doesn't know, Hampture is a guy that keeps a hamster in a fully sealed underwater environment. It's pretty sweet.
You should
I
keep
just-
it in there forever.
I've just always been curious as to why.
He's been doing it for over 10 years. Like, I thought Rat Boy Genius was nuts. Like, for fuck's sake.
It's just like I don't get like after like maybe 2 years of putting a hamster underwater.
He tried to make a flying one as well.
What?
I'm not kidding. I don't think he ever made a video on it.
Columbia, like from Bioshock Infinite.
You made Columbia.
Bro, it's Hampshire's paving the, like one day there's gonna be no more room on land. We're gonna build underwater, and who will be leading that? It'll be Hampshire.
A man chooses, a hamster obeys.
I love how mad it makes people. Like, just some like the guy is like the guy. Okay, first of all, the guy is legitimately autistic. I mean, I don't think it required an expert to figure that out, but it's just so.
Is a hamster not entitled to the sweat of his brow?
Stop. This is by far the funniest topic. Like, Mantis Man's pretty good, but Hampture is.
You never added me as a friend on Facebook, by the way.
He
I will get Mantis Man on here as a special guest.
We should get Mantis, and we need to get we should get Hampture on the podcast. Because we're probably the only people who would not like bully him. We would actually like be curious as to what he has to say.
I would
He's
really like to
hilarious.
have Hampshire on the podcast.
Oh, you know who we might be able to get in the podcast?
Who?
Joey Mullen,
Who?
the king
Oh.
of DIY.
Oh, I want Joey.
Because I was on his live stream the other day trying to troll him and get hosted with him,
Wrong.
and he said, he's like, I will be in any fish podcast that I'm invited to.
Oh. Okay, guys, like
That's
two
a
more
dangerous
episodes. 2 more episodes. The 5th episode special. Joey, king of DIY.
Yeah, Andy, as soon as you said his name, he went live. Same minute.
He can hear us.
He
He's in
knows.
here.
He's live on Instagram right now.
Go on Instagram, ask him. Hey, king
Oh,
of
he's like down here. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna request to go live with him. He's not
Oh.
gonna let me, but I'm still gonna
What
request.
else? What else? Let's.
Yeah, give us a new topic.
I
What
don't
we got?
know.
How often have you guys ever checked your pH of your aquarium?
No, we've already done this.
We already done that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Actually, no.
I
Actually,
checked
actually,
my
let's
pH
go off of
today.
that. Let's go off of that because I was in another server the other day and I said I don't check my pH and they were talking about like checking for pH stability. I don't. Is that a
Sorry,
valid?
if your pH is fluctuating like
Yeah.
that means that there's something in the
Yeah.
water that should.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
You're
I'm
an
like-
idiot.
I'm like-
No, your pH naturally swings throughout the day. It should be low at night and high during the day. That's the thing.
Okay,
is
but like
that,
if you test it like twice a minute, it shouldn't be different.
If your pH is changing enough that it's affecting fish, then I don't know what you've done to your tank.
No,
but it's
actually, no. That's a very good point though. Like if you're, because okay, I don't know what you're saying for a fact because I don't check my pH, but I trust what you're saying. But like, if that's what happens, then surely like no one needs to. Like, if you need to check your tank for pH fluctuations because it's affecting fish, then I feel like there's a bigger issue there.
well, there are. So again, Mr. Saltwater, you have here. There are certain techniques and practices and equipment that require you to check your pH. Calcium reactors being the biggest one.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys know what a calcium reactor is? Andy, don't talk.
No.
Sorry, when I just chuck crushed oyster shells in my fresh tank and then my water lettuce grows.
So what a calcium reactor is this big cylindrical tube that you fill up with crushed coral, like dead coral skeletons, all right? There's a recirculation pump on it, and usually it's hooked off a manifold or something, but basically you just dribble water in. A calcium reactor should have water just like dripping in and out. Like you're not pushing much water through it. But what you do is with this big cylindrical tube full of crushed coral skeletons, you hook up compressed CO2 to it, and you pump it full of CO2. The CO2 effectively, I mean, I'm really speaking in layman's terms here, but the CO2 basically melts the calcium carbonate skeletons into calcium and dissolved carbonate. So you're basically making ocean acidification in a jar. And as a result, it's a very consistent, natural, clean source of calcium carbonate, which corals need to grow, that can be done in a very effective, efficient manner, especially for big tanks. It's much more efficient than adding the alkaline to your calcium buffer. It's much more efficient. Well, I wouldn't say it's much more efficient than Kalkwasser, but it's much easier way to regulate it. Kalkwasser can fuck your shit up if you don't know what you're doing. That's calcium hydroxide. That's a super caustic solution, but I digress here. Anyway, calcium reactors, because you are literally making ocean acidification in a jar, you understand that if you drop your pH too fast by pumping too much gas in, you will fuck your shit up sideways. So people that use calcium reactors have to have a pH probe in their reactor and in their tank to constantly monitor the pH throughout the day.
Okay, yeah,
And what they usually do is they use, just like a plant tank, they use a CO2 regulator with an electronic solenoid. If the pH gets too low, it'll turn off the gas. But that's an example of where you need to check your CO2. In fact, in my entire application and hobby experience, that's the only reason I can think to check your CO2. But what's funny is people that computerize it and they use Reef controllers like Apex or whatever, they see the swings throughout the day. Usually the calcium reactor will just automatically shut itself off at night because the pH on its own, just through the Krebs cycle and just through all the flora in your tanks doing its thing, will naturally drop the pH, so it turns off the gas. And that's all I have to say about pH and calcium reactors.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway though is that if you have a simple freshwater tank and you're telling people, oh, I have to check the pH.
Make sure Jimmy the beta isn't dying,
Oh man, my beta isn't eating because my pH is 7.4 instead of 7.5.
Okay,
You're a fucking idiot, and I hear pet rocks are very rewarding.
Okay, no, you know what? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna play into that a bit because I feel like anytime anyone has a fish issue, it's instantly check your parameters. I'm like, no, okay, if freaking Tom the Beta is like, if his fins are torn up and you have a freaking filter pummeling down on him, it might not be the pH, but
Yeah, but
also,
you're overestimating.
We're getting fired up here. Maybe Tom the Beta isn't doing well. Shut up. Maybe Tom the Beta isn't doing well because it's a fucking abomination of nature. It's already gonna live a short, miserable life because its spine is bent and it's being dragged down by all this man-made spinach. And maybe you're a bad person for supporting the hobby.
Hey, my beta's doing okay.
Honestly, you are overestimating the average fish keeper.
Really, I am.
You would not believe how awful the average fish keeper is. Before I started working at a fish store, I didn't understand it.
Bro.
Fish are so easy. Fish are incredibly easy. Have a cycled filter, put fish in, feed them. You'll be fine. But the average person comes in, I test their water, and their nitrites are like 3,000 ppm, and their guppies are still alive. And I'm like, how? How are you so bad at this?
It's not even like a shocking thing. Like, oh my god, the fish is alive with nitrites of 3,000 ppm. It's how do they get there?
Yeah, that's.
How do you do that?
You should write a fucking book. If you can fuck up water chemistry that bad and create this toxic waste dump of an aquarium, what were you? Were you just eating handfuls of fish food? What do you do to just do so bad at this hobby? I don't, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to dog on people. We were all new once, but I never had this happen to me. I've crashed tanks. I've had hard cycles. I've done some stupid shit. Every time it's my fault. But I just don't understand this whole thing. Or when people are like, oh, add a piece of table shrimp and create a hard. I mean, we've already talked about cycling and why it's the dumbest thing ever. But my God, people just are.
And then I have a tank. My 10-gallon, my Pasilia obscura colony that I recently tore down. That was a tank I had up for about 4 years. I would do a water change maybe once a year if we're being generous. Never had a single issue. And then there are people that skip a water change for a week and all their fish die. How are people so bad at fish? And fish are easy.
My fish only die when they beat each other to death.
A lot of these people that have these anomaly aquariums where they just create some sort of portal to hell where the fish just do this, they're fucking parents. They have pet dogs. Like they're keeping way more sophisticated animals and humans alive, and hopefully successfully well. And they can't keep a fucking guppy alive. Like
It baffles me how bad people can be at fish when fish are so hilariously easy.
I have a personal anecdote about this. So me and my dad was in the hobby with me. You know, kind of my later high school years. Like we bought a 150-gallon tank off Craigslist. We had it for like 6-7 years. It was a bitchin' tank. Well, you know, as he kind of got out of the hobby, I kind of got into other things. You know, we still have the tank, but I think my dad went, I don't know, maybe a year without changing water on this 150-gallon reef tank. It was wall-to-wall xenia, soft corals, had a huge refugium, we had 2 protein skimmers. It was just a very established bund-up tank that just didn't need much outside influence. I had a sea apple. If you guys don't know what a sea apple is,
I know what a sea apple
I know
is.
this story.
Did the sea apple die?
Unfortunately, I bet you fucking died.
Yeah, I've heard this story and it's good. So.
Animals, but they're notoriously hard to keep. People say, "Oh no, they're filter feeders. You gotta feed them all this stuff." That's not true. This thing was indestructible. It lived in this water changeless, very little care swamp aquarium. It did great.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Filter feeder plus swamp.
But there is a rumor, or not a rumor. There's a story with sea apples that if this thing dies, it will take everything in your aquarium with it. They are hella toxic. So my dad was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna do a water change." So he does this like 50-gallon water change on this tank. He takes like 2 trash cans out. Like he's like, "I'm gonna take make the aquarium great again. I'm gonna do it." He pissed off the sea apple, and I shit you not, within 24 hours, every single fish and animal in that tank was dead. Like that, like just all, like within minutes. I go up to the tank and all the fish are on their side breathing heavily. I'm like, "Oh god." And I run. There's only so much I can do. I'm out of salt. My dad used the last of the salt. The salt was a year old too, so that might have something to do with it. Put a bunch of fresh carb in there. Run to the local pier, get a bunch of water. I had 2 fish survive for 24 hours. I had a stripey chub and a sapphire damsel. And the funniest thing is, my dad to this day tells me, "Oh, you did something in the tank. You messed it up." I'm like, "No, Dad, you popped the sea apple and pissed it off." And he's like, "No, they can't do that. I'm a surgeon. I know what I'm talking about." Surgeons are the most fucking pretentious people. Yes, they know how to flay a fish really, really well, but they are the stupidest human beings you'll ever meet.
I don't know what you're talking about, Funk. If you're a surgeon, you should know all about sea apples.